Amber, and welcome to Entrepreneur Talks podcast, run by Women Flix.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, fantastic. Before we start going through the questions, I'm so excited. I would like to know where you're calling or where you're talking from.
Yeah, so I'm actually from the States, from America. So I'm in Northeast Indiana, which is considered the Midwest. So I'm close to Lake Michigan. So if the lake, the Great Lake that looks like a thumb, it touches Indiana. I'm about 2 hours south.
Wow, that's
from that lake.
Amazing place to live. It's nature surrounded, right? And lake, river.
Yep, lakes, rivers, cornfields.
Wow.
Woods, it's wonderful. And we actually live in a big little city called Fort Wayne. So we can turn right out of our housing addition and go downtown, or we can turn left and see Amish buggies. So it's the perfect place.
You got the both sides of nature and city, right?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's amazing. So I'm talking from London, as I told you before. So I'm in London, UK, United Kingdom. So It's a pleasure to be able to do this with such a different way or time zone as well, and not so far away but so close. Fantastic.
Yeah, I love being here. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So talking about Amber Harper. So who is Amber Harper?
Well, most importantly, Amber Harper is a mom and a wife, a former classroom teacher, now turned entrepreneur, teacher burnout coach, and entrepreneur. So I'm lots of things to different people, but I do what I do because I want to be the best version of myself for my family, and that's what I really preach to others.
Fantastic. How old is your child?
We have 2 daughters. Our oldest is actually 19, and she's a freshman at college this year. And our youngest is 12, so she's a 7th grader.
Fantastic. Oh, they following your steps for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. I think one of my daughters actually has more of an entrepreneurial spirit than the other. So we'll see if that actually follows through.
More women to empower the world. I love it. I do have a daughter as well. She's 22. And yes, it's amazing. It's amazing to have as well other women in our life as our daughters, our kids. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see, them come into their own, I mean, it's one thing, I think, to ask them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? But to actually watch them decide what they want to do and to empower them to believe that, you might have one thing in mind right now, but it's okay if you make a change, especially now. I mean, it's very unlikely that Hannah is our oldest daughter's name. It's very unlikely, in my opinion, that she's going to choose her path right now and it's going to stay that path. And I just want her to know that that's okay. So we've really tried to empower her with that belief that if things aren't going the way that you want them to go, it's within you to decide what you want to do about it.
That's really good. It's really true and really good to teach our kids like that. And I have my experiences as well, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And so because of this, just coming to, I think is related with our topic, changing paths is like the burn-in teacher.
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? What is the story behind?
So it's actually a 12-year journey because burnedinteacher.com, which I built, close to 4 years ago. It actually started in 2007 when I actually got my teaching degree and started teaching. To keep a long story short, I rode this roller coaster of extreme highs and deep lows in my career in education. And I think there are different reasons. I know that there were different reasons, different seasons, different things that were going on in my life that contributed to it. And when people talk to me about, taking care of myself, whenever I tried to talk about being burned out, I'm an action taker. You know, one of my top strengths is activator. You tell me to do something, and if it will help, I will do it today. I'm not going to wait. And so, yeah. So, I mean, there's no other way, in my opinion, to live your life. Like there's no guarantee we have tomorrow. So we have to make the most out of today. But I was very healthy, took care of myself. I mean, I had gained a lot of weight with my pregnancy with Hannah. I was very young. I was 18 when I had her. And I learned right away that I wanted to live a very healthy, active life as a mom. I wanted to model that for her. So when people would say, you know, go for a walk, go for a run, drink more water, eat healthily, get sleep, I was doing, and Lord knows I need my sleep. I was doing all of those things, but I was so unhappy. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn here as a teacher, but I was a very popular teacher. All parents wanted their kids to have me. Kids loved me. I was fun, but I was, you know, I had expectations. We did a lot of incredible things in my classroom, but yet I was crying in my car every day on the way to work. That's unacceptable to me. Yeah. And I finally convinced myself after years of these highs and lows and this pattern that I had of being, okay, this is good. I'm going to get my master's and then I'll find my path. And, you know, then I'll move to this grade level and I'll find my path. And, you know, it's coming. I know I'm going to figure out what's right for me. I convinced myself and told myself the story that there was something wrong with me and that I was just discontent and unfulfilled and ungrateful. And this is just where I was, and I needed to settle. I needed to get myself into a state of contentment. And I've learned through my research and now my coaching that settling and contentment are very different things. And they need to be talked about differently. But it finally took me quitting this job at the school that I started teaching at, that both of my daughters went to. It took me actually quitting after 7.5 years in the middle of the school year. And leaving to take, I did leave for another opportunity that was urgent. I couldn't wait. It was either then or never. And it was to be an executive director of a nonprofit that was an educational nonprofit in our community. Well, to make a long story, hopefully shorter,
Don't worry.
I was there as the executive director of this nonprofit long enough to close it. They shouldn't have hired me. They should have closed the doors. The current ED was leaving, retiring, I should say. And they should have closed it down. It had run its course and it needed to be shut down. Well, I was there long enough. And again, activator, I get in there and I'm like, this is not okay. Like their business plan is they're not going to survive. So I closed it. I mean, obviously I didn't close it down, but I was there for that process. Yeah. So there it was again. I'm like, okay, I thought this was going to be my thing. I knew that I wanted to be a leader. But then that was taken away from me. What else can I do? I'm just a teacher. So I'll go back into the classroom. Well, I really honestly believe that there are things in our lives. I'm not a religious person, but I am spiritual. And I think that there are things that happen for certain reasons that carve new beliefs and new possibilities in our lives. And when I had the opportunity to be out driving more often when I was the executive director, I got into podcasts. And this was in 2015, by the way, new year. And so January 2015, I started listening to podcasts. And I don't know if you're familiar with Pat Flynn with, yes. So Pat Flynn's, I can't think, oh my gosh, SPI. So, oh gosh, the name of it, I cannot believe because I'm nervous. So Smart Passive Income. Thank you. I knew it was SPI, Smart Passive Income. So I started listening to this and it was so intriguing. And I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I love working with others, but I also want to be able to call the shots and do what's right for the sake of doing the right thing without having to ask permission. And that's honestly what got me into some trouble as a teacher, because I just did what I knew was right. And I didn't ask for permission. I asked for forgiveness. Right. So, and it really is in my blood. And so I closed down this nonprofit, had all of these entrepreneurial dreams and ideas, but I'm like, what would I do? Like what online business would I create? Like, I don't know anything about anything. I'm just, again, telling myself that story. I'm just a teacher. And it wasn't until I started this new district, started going through burnout again, because I was this rock star teacher at this district, but then I moved to this district and I am like low level No one knows anything about me. I just felt completely, I mean, I was just devastated.
Yeah.
And because I had gone, you know, from teacher, executive director to teacher, no one knew me.
Oh, no.
It was awful. So there I am crying in my car again. Like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Like, what in the world am I going to do with my life? I cannot keep living like this. And it wasn't to a dangerous level. It was just like, there has got to be something out there for me.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until spring of 2016, April, I'll never forget it, April 9th, 2016,
Oh, wow.
I went to a Google Summit for Google Apps for Education with some other teachers from this district. And I didn't want to go. And I was so burned out and I had such a bad attitude. I mean, in myself, I was having a bad attitude. I was always friendly and positive and happy outwardly. I wasn't going to blame anybody else for my misery.
Yes, I understand.
But it wasn't until I was there that I just got so lit up. I was so excited. I wanted to learn how to use these tools with my students, and I taught first grade at this new district. And when I was coming home, I'd fallen asleep because, of course, we stayed up way too late the night before. So fell asleep on the way back home, and I woke up and I thought, burned in teacher. That's it. Because I am 180 degrees feeling completely different than I was when I left. I was burned out whenever I was going to this conference. I am now so burned in. I cannot wait for school tomorrow. And I bought the domain the next day and started blogging. I started blogging about how I was using Google tools with my students. And then I was also blogging about my honest challenge with burnout. And it wasn't a blame game. It wasn't negative. It was, this is what has been going on inside of me. And this is what I'm going to try to do about it. And after I blogged and told that story, I mean, I just got a free blogger account with Google. So I became a Google educator and then a Google trainer and then a Google innovator. So I went through all these things and I blogged about all of these things I was doing, and it was just lighting me on fire. Burned in, right?
And now, yes. And now you're doing something for yourself that you see potential, that you enjoy, and you really feeling like, yeah, I'm on fire.
I don't cry in my car anymore.
Yeah.
Ever.
I love it.
Unless I hear a beautiful song, because music moves me. But so I just started telling my story, and just slowly but surely I started leading Google workshops and teaching other teachers how to use these tools, etc. So it was kind of two pieces, right? It was these two passions that I had. I loved educational technology, and I loved telling my story and helping to open this conversation that wasn't negative, not blaming. It was just progressive and it was proactive. This is how we're feeling, and this is what we can do about it to avoid it happening. And then fast forward 2 years, I was getting calls to lead these workshops for schools, and I was having to say no because I was in the classroom full time. And in addition to that, I had turned burned in, the words burned in, into an 8-step process. So that has now become sort of my whole system for helping teachers who are struggling. And that's what my current members, that's what they're going through in their content in my membership. And I've done a small group program. You know, I've led a workshop walking a room full of teachers through this. And it's slowly but surely become this well-known system to help teachers to not only prevent burnout, but to take the steps that are really truly necessary to have that true self-care. Because I think there's a huge confusion between self-care, self-indulgence, and ultimately self-destruction. And they're all woven together, and they are very different things. And I always, of course I encourage people to, drink plenty of water and move your body 30 plus minutes a day, right? Get quiet, be alone with yourself. But honestly, if we're thinking about it, that's the easy stuff, because that's the stuff that, whether or not you do it, you're still going to go back to the way things are in your career and in your personal life. Right. These things are really the easy things, because whether or not you do them, it's not going to change the hard stuff that's going on in your life. Right. It'll make you feel better. It'll make you feel more awake. It'll give you more energy, but that's not the hard conversations you need to have. That's not the change that you may need to make, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's what I help teachers to process. So that's where I have transitioned into a full-time Google trainer and a full-time teacher burnout coach.
That's amazing.
I tried to make that short.
No, marvelous. I love it. It's just, wow. It is a change, 180 change for sure. And you having already, you got your own program running to help the teachers. And either the ones that maybe be thinking about to be a teacher, they can join you on the program, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting. There are now, my 8-step process is now in book form. So it's called Hacking Teacher Burnout, right here behind me.
Oh,
yeah. So I signed with a publisher last January, right before the pandemic hit the United States. It's just been a really kind of perfect timing, because it's really 8 steps to help you to prepare for any hardship and go from isolated to empowered. So it's really a chance now. I mean, teachers are so stressed and they're telling themselves stories, or they're in a place where they are not fulfilled. They're not happy. And this process was built for this large or small hardship. That's what the burn-in process was there to help you to do, is to really look inside yourself first before you look outwardly on all of these outside factors that are causing you to burn out. Because if you don't change yourself first, and this is not like physical changes, right? This is like internal. If you don't change your beliefs, and number one, the way that the stories that you tell yourself and your state, you're not going to change anything else. You can bring all the strategies in that you want, but if you don't start in here and in here first, you're going to go back to business as usual.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this is a really deep treatment, if I can say, because I'm sure so when you say it's like, now I just came up with another question, is like, when you say it's eight steps or 8 steps program.
Yeah.
How long does it take? Or
as long as it takes.
That's what I was thinking. Does everyone go on their own steps, right?
So in my membership, when people join, they get 2 products. So I work inside of Kajabi. I don't know if you're familiar with that platform, but they get access to the full, what I call Burn-In Teacher University, which is basically this book, but it's more in depth. It's broken down into lessons and modules. And I also break it into 3 pillars. So we first have to work on your beliefs. We have to work on your time management, and we have to work on your actions. And so the burn-in process is broken into those 3 pillars.
Right.
But in addition to that, I guess in the way I'm running my membership, it's really, it's like a 12-month process. Because the other thing that I do is I help to coach you through all of these lessons and modules so you're not overwhelmed. So there's a monthly coaching call, and then there's like a checklist that helps them to know which modules and lessons to go through. No matter what month you join, you always start on month 1. And so really it's like a 12-month. And then if you stay longer, that's great. If not, great. You're burned in, you go on your merry way, do your life. But then we have a monthly group Q&A forum. And then I go live in our Facebook group, in our private Facebook group, all the time, addressing their specific questions and challenges and their day-to-day wins and losses. And we really know each other very, very well. It's a very tight-knit community.
Oh, that's really good. And when you say is 12 months membership, not 12 months, can be 12 months training, of course, or journey, whatever we can call. It is there, I was about to ask you, the way it's like when it comes to these limits, like for 12 months, the person can stay there, but if they want to start again the program, they can start.
Sure. Yeah. Because every year it improves, and I'm learning too. Entrepreneurism is a consistent science experiment. And if you don't just start, you're not gonna be an entrepreneur. You're gonna be a wantrepreneur, right? Yeah. So I just started with what I knew. Mm-hmm. And Burn-In Teacher University, and I apologize, I want to back up and answer. So the 8 steps, the 8 for Burned In is B is begin where you are. U is understand your teacher brand. R is reflect on your challenges and solutions. N is nurture your strengths and habits. E is extend your reach and possibilities. D is determine your long-term goals. I is initiate lasting change. And N is never settle.
I need that. I need this.
Right? I mean, who doesn't just need, I mean, I've had nurses that are like, could you have this process for us? And I'm like, you would totally benefit. I mean, any service profession, especially right now, we are constantly met with, you know, this secondary trauma, you know, these things that we see other people going through, other human beings going through, that we as an empathetic animal wear on our shoulders. You know, you can't help but just want to give everything of yourself and solve everybody's problems for them because we don't want to see people hurt. Mm-hmm. And it almost makes me emotional. It's just when you wear all of that, but you don't. And I mean, this is where I get so tired of hearing. I mean, I love it and I hate it. I have a love-hate relationship with fill your cup. You can't pour from an empty cup, or put your mask on before you put other people's masks on, you know, that kind of thing. But it's like when people told me that when I was a teacher, I was like, don't patronize me. Like, I know I need to take care of myself, but what is the process here? Because I can't keep literally running. I love to run. I run 3 times a week at least. But I can't literally keep running from these feelings that I'm having. And I tell people straight out, Burned In Teacher, my program is not to make you feel like you have to stay in the classroom and be content or settle, however, whatever it is that you want. I'm not here to help you to say you have to stay in the classroom. You are a teacher, you will always be a teacher.
Yeah.
Nor is it to get you out of the classroom. Okay. Unless that's what you want. It's just full out permission and strategies to help you to make proactive decisions rather than knee-jerk decisions. Because there are a lot of teachers that leave the classroom and then they realize, I had a really good, you know, I just wish that I would have maybe gone to a different grade level or gone to a different building or a different district. You know, not all, I'm telling you from experience, not even all grade levels, the teams, the first grade team and the second grade team, and they are not created equal at all. I was treated like garbage by my first grade team when I first started teaching. And it just took me going to the second grade team to realize that, holy cow, I'm not a horrible person. Like, I just love to share and I want to work with other people who.
But why it needs to be like that, you know?
Yeah, why? I don't understand. I don't understand that culture, especially now. I mean, you're in London, you see what's happening in America, right? It's just, it's constant, just, you know, and in some places, not all places, it's not constant challenge and defense and, you know, all of that, but it is in a lot of places. And, you know, it just takes you being willing to do the hard stuff and take risks, take calculated risks, so you can find your place and be who you're meant to be. And I subscribe to that be, do, have mentality. Okay. You can't wait until you have the things you want to be the person that you want to be. Like, you have to be that person now, and you have to do the things that that type of person would do in order to have the life that you want to have. It doesn't work vice versa. That's what causes a lot of misery. You know, you think about all the things you want to have. I want to have more time. I want to have better relationships. Okay, well, if you really want to have those things, you better be that person now, because that will never come. Yeah. And those are a lot of those gut check conversations that I have with teachers where it's like, no, you can't blame your principal for this right now. Like, we have to think about where you fit in here, because
that's so true.
There's so much work to do. Yeah. So it's a whole lot. That's why I really consider it like a year-long program, because once you get in it and you start to take the action, like, you need that community support to continue to affirm that you are doing what is best for you. Of course, we want to do what's best for kids. We're teachers, right? But if we aren't doing what's best for us first, we are not going to serve the kids in our classroom. So it's really important to me that, you know, people don't just come in, watch the videos and then leave, because you're going to go back to your bad habits and you're going to hit some speed bumps. You're going to hit some walls, and you need somebody there to help to pick you up and say, no, you are equipped to handle this. Now you have to put it into action. So that's what the Burned In Teacher membership community is all about. It's not just the content, it's the community that will be there for you when no one else is able to. I mean, we have our own language basically that we speak. We have different stages of burnout that we're in. Like we know how to help one another.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Amber, one thing that I'm just realizing here, like, you still teaching on the end of the day.
I'm not actually. No.
But you're leading people, you're teaching people, not like teacher at the school, but you still doing one of the things that you decided long time ago to do, teaching. But you're not anymore that teacher inside the room, suffering, suffocated, frustrated, but you're doing such in a different level and such in a bigger like power, like more power. For me, looking to what you're doing now is like she's still teaching, but not
absolutely. Yeah, so I apologize, I misunderstood what you said at first, but yeah, absolutely. I will always be a teacher, and I am consistently learning. I'm always enrolling in a new course or reading a new book, and I incorporate, if it's not already incorporated in the Burned In Teacher program, then I'm going to put it in there because I am constantly learning and growing myself. And I mean, that's the definition of an educator. Like, you can't be a teacher if you're not constantly learning. And it takes many different kinds of teachers to run the world, right? So
definitely.
Yeah. So and I'm going to keep my teaching license up. I'm not going to let it expire. I want to continue to be recognized as a teacher here in the state of Indiana. So, but for instance, I'm going to a school on Thursday to talk to them about Google Classroom, which is, an online classroom for kids and teachers. But it's interesting.
You're teaching.
Yeah, teaching, right? So I still have to keep up to be a Google trainer. I still have to keep up on the latest updates and trends and things like that. And I just love it. And so it's awesome for me to be able to step inside a school. Like, I feel like I'm home. So that part of me will never, that will never go.
I can feel that because it's so beautiful. The fact like you're still doing what you love to do, and you were always good because I remember when you start to talk about your teaching, you said, I was always happy, friendly with other people, but inside of me, I was suffering. And now it is a completely different picture because you're still going to the schools, not teaching like before, but you still helping other people to improve their lives, themselves. With this new thing, the Google, the training, the burnout, burned in. I said
burned in. Yeah. So it's interesting though, because you would think that like when you do what you truly feel like you were meant to do, you think that it's just going to be sunshine and rainbows. Like, I have bad days. There are pros and cons to any career that you have in the entire world. One con is that I'm lonely. Like, I work in my office, but I'm an extrovert. I get my energy. I'm an empath, get my energy from other people. Like, I can walk into a room full of strangers and leave with a handful of friends. Like, I love meeting new people. It gets lonely. I hit speed bumps and walls in my career, being the CEO of Burned In Teacher. Things don't go the way I want. But I always have to, this is what I encourage teachers to do too, is, and it might be cliche, but consistently going back to your people. And this is actually a lesson inside of Burned In Teacher University. Like, who are you there for? Name the student. It doesn't have to be a real name, but what do they look like? What kind of life are they living? What do they feel about your classroom and school? Because I can tell you, and I can never get through this part of an interview without getting all teary. I do what I do for the teacher that is tears streaming down her face as she's parking her car to go teach her kids.
Got it.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that.
No.
Kids don't deserve that, but you don't deserve to have that intense emotion every day. Now, I mean, my gosh, if you get bad news while you're driving to school and you cry, like that's totally different than it becoming this habitual reaction when you're driving to your job. And this doesn't happen just with teachers. This happens with many people in many different careers.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. I mean, burnout is real. It's now, it's been acknowledged by the World Health Organization. Like it's a real thing and it can make you physically ill.
Yes.
And nobody deserves to be in a career or in a life where they feel trapped. And especially when you are working and serving others face to face every day, whether or not we're in a pandemic,
Yeah.
So I will always come back to that teacher, man or woman. It's not just women in the Burn-In Teacher Tribe, but anybody who feels like they just don't belong or they don't know what their next step is or they don't know what they're supposed to be doing or how to handle their challenges, that is always who I go back to. Because that was me.
Wow. Yes.
That was.
I know you told me, and that is, I do see myself in some situation, in some way, because it happened to me as well. Not in the teacher side, but on the other side, like on the other profession. And I was coming to that. I was already on the burnout. I was crying in every corner, and I had to decide. And it's one of the things that I was about to ask you. I'm sure it was not a really easy decision to say, okay, this is enough. I need to do something, or what should I do? What can I do? Because you mentioned when you went to the event, and then you wake up and boom. And that was exactly like with me. I was watching a YouTube lady talking about business. I just started to write the business. And from that day till today was November, I think 2017. And everything starts from there.
Yeah, it does. And it just takes those next imperfect steps, right?
And we're still going.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually went through a really severe round of burnout last year. About this time is when it started. And I had to go through my own burned in process. And I talked about it on the podcast. Like there has to be vulnerability without there being a bunch of negativity. Like it just takes, and that's what I think is so different about the burn in process than just telling people to take care of yourself, is because it gives you the exact steps that you need to start. I mean, it's cyclical. Like never settle means the next time you hit a hardship, you begin where you are. When did this start? How long have I been feeling this way? What trigger has happened? Because I will tell you, one time when I was going through burnout, I know that I had postpartum depression, but I was so caught up in the drama that was happening at school that I blamed it on that and did not treat it right.
Yes, I got it. I know what you mean. Yeah.
And there are some serious cases of postpartum depression out there. And I mean, let's be honest, who are the most of the people who are teaching? They're women. Typically, if not already married, new moms, or you have kids. Yeah. So these are things where it's like, it all starts with really acknowledging, whoa, like, how did I get here? Because we have to begin where we are and how we got to this place. It's like a map, right? Like, I don't know where I'm going unless I know where I am first. Yeah. And that all starts actually with my quiz. So that's where the quiz kind of comes in, because according to Dan Siegel, and he writes a lot of books on social emotional learning for parents and for teachers and students. And he says, if you can name it, you can tame it. You know, a lot of times you're a mom, you know, little people have big emotions, and it's because they don't know how to verbalize what it is that they are feeling. And I wanted to give teachers an opportunity to say more than I'm burned out, because that just sounds like a means to an end. I'm burned out. I'm done. I have nothing left. Yeah. But it's actually the beginning. It's the beginning of a ton of opportunities for growth and change. And it actually can be really exciting. So I created this 6-question quiz. It's called the Teacher Burnout Quiz because it helps you to name your burnout. So there are 3 different types. You can be burned and over it, burned and bored, or burned and unbalanced. You could actually be not burned out, just something's off. So that means like you are on it, like you've started to feel some of the effects and you're like, I got to do something.
Oh, wow. That's
So
nice.
it's just 6 questions. It's super quick. And then it helps to guide you and gives you next action steps based on whatever type of burnout that you are. And
Great.
then you become part of the community. I have a free Facebook group. I have a stages ebook. So not only can I identify your type of burnout, but I can help you to identify how burned out you are. Are you a stage 0, completely burned out, like you want to quit teaching? Or are you a stage 3 where it's like you've started to take some action, but you don't really quite know if it's the right actions to take? So there's 6 stages. And when people ask me, what is a burned in teacher? I tell them they are empowered. They know what they want. They're taking daily action. They're sleeping better because they know that there is a way out of this burnout as far as growth is concerned. Like they're sharing their journey and they're trying to empower others to believe that they are worthy and capable of change as well. So that's, in a gist, this very simplified version of kind of what that beginning of that journey is to becoming a burned-in teacher, is going through this process.
I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love to see that you're still conquering the hill. You're getting there. You're always improving and growing yourself. And it's like you said, it's a daily journey. It's a daily thing that you need to carry on doing.
For sure.
So
And I
I
think the most important thing to take away from this is that this is a cycle, and and there are many cycles, especially as women sitting here talking, like we have many different cycles of our lives that we can talk about and how it affects our happiness and fulfillment. And I think that recognizing that we are going to hit hardships, like life is hard, the shit's going to hit the fan one of these days. And I need to have the strategies and the support that I need, that I will need, not if, but when things happen, what it is that I can truly do. What is my system? Because after beginning where you are, okay, what has been happening? Okay, I got a new boss. He's awful. Okay, he's all right. So understand your brand. How would somebody with the brand that I want to carry with me, how would they handle this? Would they talk badly about him at the water cooler? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
They would try to build a relationship with this man or woman. Yeah. They would let them know that they want to be an active participant in this relationship. They know that I'm not going to blame anything. You're not sucking up. You're not brown nosing. You're just trying to build a human connection.
Right.
And then after time of help trying to build that connection, you get to decide, okay, is this a place or a person that I can continue to work for or not?
Yes.
And then you move on to, okay, what are my challenges here? So it's this entire system that is meant to help you in anything that makes you go, whoa, what the heck is happening here? so you can truly care for yourself.
Yeah, because your attitudes, your thoughts, everything is so, how we say, the beliefs are so there, and the patterns that you've been growing with, that you need to change. Sometimes you need to change that.
Right. And sometimes you do have to change your environment. Yeah. You just do. Yeah. Because toxic workplaces, there's no need for you to tell yourself that you have to stay.
I personally, Amber, had to go through to a toxic workplace to be able to come to a point to start my business.
Yeah.
Makes sense, if you understand, because
yeah, absolutely.
I was in a place on a comfort zone, like everything was good, amazing. So I'm loving my job. But soon I moved to a toxic area, and that was my, like, I can't say like was the end of the road, because made me a better person. Thank you.
Yes.
I could go on the opposite way, but made me a better person, made me a brave woman, made me more conscious about myself. So this actually, the burned out worked for me to build my own business, to create space for other people.
You almost become grateful for it, right? Like you look back at it like, wow, I learned so much about myself.
Yeah.
I learned what I will tolerate, and I learned what I will not put up with.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm worth that. Like I am worthy of saying, I will not I will not do that. I will not work for a person like that. I will not work for a company like that.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those things that, as a parent, okay, so we as parents, we were once the children, right? Like we're still the children of our parents, but you learn from your parents and you learn from your bosses, not only the standards that you want to live up to, but you also learn what you are never going to do. Right? Like you look back and think, I will never parent my kids like that. I will never say those things to my kids. You also learn that as a teacher, like we've had great teachers, right? And we've had horrible teachers. And I talk about this on the podcast. Like I don't name names. I'm not going to humiliate anybody or talk badly, but I am going to say, as far as Brandon is concerned, we were students. We can say who we do not, what do we want our legacy to be, and we can learn what we don't want it to be from our bad experiences. Right. We can learn just as much about what we don't want from those bad experiences as we can from wonderful ones. Yeah. So it really is, but it takes sitting back and getting quiet and thinking that way, instead of victimizing yourself and say, I can't believe you put me through this. I can't believe that, this is my life. Like that's what I was doing when I was crying in my car. I was just thinking about how awful everything was and how sad I was and how I can't believe, my boss is such a jerk. Like he doesn't get me. He keeps holding me back. Okay, Amber, so what are you going to do about it? Like, what do you want? So, because there's nobody else that's responsible for me. I am 100% responsible for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good, bad, or ugly. Like it all comes back to my decisions and my choices.
That's a great, yeah, that's the way it has to be there. And that's why the universe created yourself to bring Burnout Teacher program and our conversation as well, because I'm sure it's going to help loads of people to listen, to change the way they either starting from their thoughts. From this conversation, I believe that's why I feel like podcast is really powerful, because we don't know how we're going to change others, but we know that we will.
Yeah.
And that's really, I'm so grateful for this. Just the fact that we're doing this conversation, we sharing ideas and sharing our lives and experience, and just going to bring, for sure, it's going to go to somewhere that we can't imagine. And
yeah, I hope so.
we probably don't change 10 lives in one go, but we will change one at each time.
But even if I change one today or one this week, that's one life.
Yeah.
That's one person less that's crying in their car on the way to work, feeling like that's their destiny,
Right. Thank you so much, Amber.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I have goosebumps.
I'm like, and okay, we're gonna have to go.
Okay. Well, it's so nice to talk with you.
Thank you so much. But before we go, please let me know, and my listeners as well, how can people connect with you? You already mentioned Facebook group, but that I believe is through the program. But tell me where they can find about you or more information, please.
Yeah, I am on all social media channels at Burned In Teacher. Okay. And you can find me on facebook.com/burnedinteacher. That'll take you to my page, and I have a linked free Facebook group. You can find me on any podcast host at the Burned In Teacher podcast. And of course, I have my book, Hacking Teacher Burnout. So you can go to hackingteacherburnout.com, and you can email me anytime, support@burnedinteacher.com. I've made it very easy to find me. Like you search Burned In Teacher, I'm the only Burned In teacher out there. So you see it, it's me.
Oh, maybe you could start a club, Burning Teacher Club.
Well, that's the Burned In Teacher Tribe. That's my membership.
Oh, yeah, the program. Okay, okay, that's good. Yes, he's related. Okay, thank you so much once again.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm sure I'm gonna keep in touch with you, and
I would love that.
We'll keep seeing this Burning Teacher growing and growing and growing, changing, transforming other people's lives.
Oh, that makes me so excited.
Continue, please, because our girls are seeing what we're doing, and they will create their own thing, but they will do something because they see what they see through us.
You know, I have to say something about that because I did tell you I have 2 daughters. So a lot of what I teach teachers is very specific to teaching, but it's all just based on personal development. And there have been more than one occasions where my daughters are going through something and I will start to try to coach them and they'll say, Mom, don't go burned in teacher on me. Like, you have built a brand when your own kids are like, Mom, I don't want to hear your positive action steps here. And I say, okay, that's your choice because I can't make them, if they want to ride the blame train, go right ahead. No, it's their choice. But I know that I've done a good job when they know what I stand for. So
okay, she's coming. She's coaching us. Lately, actually, Amber, it's been happening to me. And I'm like, why are they saying this? This is funny, actually. I found very funny because they say, are you coaching me?
Yep. It's a blessing and a curse. Like they know they're not going to get away with anything in those terms with me.
Stop with you coaching me. I'm like, okay. At least I know they already know that I'm coaching. This is so powerful.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, beautiful. God bless and take care.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much as well.